touch it, you buy it.
Tess. It's been a while. You know, visit.
Who the hell?
I'm coming.
Hello fellow gamers, here we are with the big Last of Us Remastered full comparison and review on the PS4. It's been a bit of a epic 2 weeks for me, I'm afraid, so you've not seen a couple of videos from me for a while and not much contact. I had a bit of an accident last week, a vehicle accident, and I broke myself up pretty bad, so I've got a completely busted and plated arm and busted and plated leg and collarbone, so I'm not doing too great on the physical side of it, but I'm healing and I feel good enough now to get some stuff up to you and hopefully get this video up to you in time that it's not missed the boat a little bit. I've been playing the game the past couple of days on the PS4, and forgive some of the video footage because the quality is pretty poor because I've only got one finger I can use on my right hand. So at the moment it's a bit cack-handed, but I've done my best. I'm not doing too bad considering. So anyway, enough of me bloating on about how poor and woe is me. I just thought I'd give you guys an update on it just so you know what's gone on. So yeah, cool. Okay, right, here we go anyway. So the game obviously has come out this week. Everyone's probably been playing it who was desperate to buy it first hand. Not much information, not much leaking footage on what had come out of the game before what we'd already seen, but now I've got it in my hands. Now I've had a chance to look at it first hand and compare it against the original PS3 release. What can we see? Well, quite a few differences, and as expected it is a remaster. It is not a massive remake and a redo. It's not on the level of Tomb Raider changes, but there is definite changes in there and certain massive improvements in certain areas, and other areas not so much. The first thing is, let's go through the additional content in the game. So in the game we now have on the main menu, you've got obviously the DLC content Left Behind, which was a I think £11.99 purchase on the PS3, and this now gives you the ability to play that content. I advise you playing that after finishing the single player if you've not played this game before. You then get, if you've bought the Day 1 edition, you get the Survivor Pack, which gives you additional weapons and packs and skins for the multiplayer factions, online multiplayer aspect, which is pretty good. And then after that you also get a few more options, including the ability to play as the new grounded game type, the hardest difficulty, which you didn't get originally when the PS3 was released. It was a downloadable update to it. You can now play that from the standard, which I've done on my playthrough here because I've finished the game a couple of times, so that I might as well play it on the hardest setting. You've then got additional sound options. You've got your lock to 30 frames per second option. Now, the 30 frames per second option is only there as an option. The game is very, very solid. There is very, very occasional dips, and they are minor as when you're playing the game at really heavy points, but it's nowhere near at a level that affects the game in any way, shape or form. It is pretty much, by and large, a locked 60 frames per second. The 30 frames option has only been put in simply because people may moan and don't like the 60 FPS option. Now unfortunately YouTube still haven't got their 60 FPS option available to me, so this video is still coming to you in a full 30. So one of the biggest differences from the original PS3 release to the PS4 release you still cannot see on this video, and that unfortunately is a bit of a shame because that is one of the big changes that the game has made. On top of that, you've obviously got the 1080p full resolution as opposed to the 720p from the PS3 version. This in turn makes the image far cleaner, far crisper, and it moves far smoother. Now all the cutscenes in the game, unlike my previous video where I thought they'd achieved it, they haven't. They are still FMV scenes, but they have all been re-rendered in 1080p and 60 frames per second. Now some of them are tweaked slightly, some of them are not any different at all, but it does make for a very smooth transition. One of the other benefits is the ability now the PS4 has to load the FMV videos unbelievably fast. It's within a second. Unlike the PS3 where it could take 4 or 5 seconds for the black screen to flick to the video, it just minimises that immersion break that you get. It is still there. You still go from black to video and black back to game again. Hopefully this will be the last time we see FMV sequences in games.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
I am sure you will figure that out.
Another new addition a la Second Son and Sony's new thing is a photo mode, so you can play around to your heart's content and admire the beauty. Aside the FMVs and aside the 1080p and 60 frames per second, what other updates will we see? Well, now the first thing is they say they've improved the lighting engine in the game. The first thing you can see here is the PS4's increase in resolution clarifies the weather effects dramatically over the PS3 version, with the rain specifically being stand out. But the lighting engine looks untouched. You can see the lens flare from the lights in the background, and also the bokeh dust effect on the camera lens being exactly accurate from the PS3 version to the PS4 version. What is improved is the anisotropic filtering on the ground and the textures when they're moving away from you. If I look at the ground here from the PS3 version, you can see that the detail gets more blurred towards the edge of the screen. What you can also see here is the 4 times improvement in the actual texture quality and the resolution. You can see it on the floor, the walls and the background and the character models themselves. The hair of Joel, his forearm, the character, the actual detail of the runner, all massively improved over the PS3 version, along with the colour balance. If you watch here as I scroll between the PS4 and the PS3, you can see the milk bottle moves in the background because it's rendered on the fly, but the texture detail is improved, but the actual geometry on the characters, including the guy on the right, is exactly the same. His neckline, if you watch when I scroll back in a minute, you can see where it's the same hexagonal neckline. It's not rounded and smooth. You can see the detail on the wall and the pole in the background massively drop off from the 4 times improvement the PS4 version has on the textures, along with the resolution improvement. But this sums up one part of the thing that I find strange that Naughty Dog said, and after looking at this in detail, it doesn't appear to be true. Their words were that they are now running the same quality character models from the actual cutscenes. Now, looking at this in detail, as I have over the past couple of days, it's simply not true. The detail of the character models are identical to what they were on the PS3, even down to the point where they are quite close anyway, but the subsurface scattering is massively reduced, the shadowing is reduced, and the geometry is not the same as the cutscene. So this is a little strange of a thing that they said and then ended up not doing it on the PS4, and who knows what the reason was, but my guess would be time. Now that's not to say that the geometry is not that far removed from the cutscene models. If you look here on this scene, this is a pre-rendered cutscene running on the PS4 at the moment. Look at the detail of Joel as he stands by the pipe here, and then look at it again when moments later when we're back in game. It's not far removed from the in-game model, and that is pretty much the point. I'm surprised that they haven't improved the geometry to the level of the cutscenes like they said they would. I think maybe they were a little over optimistic on their timescales and they just simply ran out of it. If we jump to the PS3 version here of Joel, the close-up, you can see what I mean. The detail of Joel and the text quality and his facial geometry and the background. Watch as I move towards the PS4 version. You can see that other than the texture increase and the improvement on the detail that we expect, the actual geometry of Joel is identical. We run a side-by-side comparison here between the PS3 and the PS4 version down this alleyway. You can see the moonlight shining in. Now they're saying the improvement on the lighting system in the engine has been improved. It's not. The HDR lighting and the dynamic ambient lights is still pre-baked. The only reason it looks better is because of the clarity improvement from the textures and the resolution. But the lighting in the game is identical to the one on the PS3. The only exception to that is the dynamic lights from the shadows in the game.
Yeah, that worked out great last time.
What? I don't hear anything.
Okay, double time.
Oh, shit.
They're coming!
I know!
Okay, that's good, go!
You can see this here. Look at the circled area with the dynamic shadow from the door frame not showing up on the PS3 as I grab the runner. Look at it here on the PS4 and you can see the shadow in the background. Because of the improved resolution there's a greater draw distance, and the actual arc of the light torch is further around the area, so it spreads more, but you get the same vignant effect when you grab and then the dynamic light turns back on. You can also see, watch the background of the shadows lodding in on the PS4 version as I move forward. You can see the dynamic shadows popping in the background. This is identical to the PS3 version, which does exactly the same thing in exactly the same time. The LOD effect is not improved and it's not enhanced, it is the same. All that's been changed is the amount of dynamic sources. You can see here that the torch from the opponent still doesn't cast a dynamic shadow on Joel, but yours does. PS3, PS4. Identical. The light change is very minor. Basically what you get is far more bounce light from the torch and a slightly larger arch. Now the other improvements is the alpha effects have been improved. Look at the flame effect and the fire effect here on the PS3. If I zoom in, you can see the lower res quality of the alpha fire here. It's running at least half the resolution, and this is the temporal resolution effect. Here on the PS4 version, the fire is literally double the resolution it was on the PS3. Now these are minor but very welcome improvements on the visual side of the game. Again, it's still got the same shortcuts that the PS3 has. You can see here standard texture reflection maps rather than anything being reflected from screen space. Now there is screen space reflection in the game, but it uses the same reflection maps in the same areas as it is on the PS3. This has not been improved. The other area is the contact shadows are meant to be improved in the PS3. If you look at the right hand side here, you can see where they're dark and then they move away. On the PS4, they're slightly softer and more subtle. It just makes the effect look more believable. The other aspect is the draw distance on the game. Because of the resolution improvement, the draw distance appears to be improved, but in actual fact it doesn't seem any better to me at all. The LOD popping looks about identical, along with the water effects in the game, which are very impressive from the PS3 anyway. Again, on this scene here, the lily pads, the spawn, everything else looks pretty much identical to the PS4 version, aided by the fact that it's dynamically created on the fly, so you never get the same walkthrough anyway. The HDR light, the ambient bounce and the bloom on the buildings, and even the god rays for the trees as you see now between the PS3 and the PS4. You've got the specular map and the anisotropic reflection on the surface of the water being identical. And that pretty much sums up the game. Now a lot of the technical aspect gets lost in translation because people don't understand how hard it would have been to do this. Bearing in mind they've taken a game that is specifically written to run on something as unique and individual as the PS3's architecture, and within 12 months or less than 12 months they've not only moved it all the way over lock, stock and barrel to the PS4 an x86-64 setup, but they've also upgraded the visuals, upgraded the resolution and doubled the frame rate. What they've done is they've improved the shadow quality. If you run the 30 FPS option, you definitely get better quality shadows than the 60 FPS option, but in my mind it's not worth the risk. I would stick to the 60 FPS because it makes it a far smoother and easier to play through transition than the 30 FPS option. This game does not indicate in any way, shape or form the quality of what Naughty Dog will deliver on the PS4. It is a case of getting a game up and running on the PS4 and getting their engine converted. And in my mind, the only reason they're doing this is because there's going to be an obvious upcoming Uncharted trilogy update remastered on the PS4. It makes perfect sense. It tides people over until the Uncharted 4 releases next Christmas. So it means that now that the lion's share of the work is done on the engine, you will now see Uncharted, probably all three versions, coming across to the PS4 using the work they've done on this engine. So the assets and work that will have to be updated because there wasn't any high quality assets available at the time, and I would imagine this will be farmed out to a third party studio. Who that is at this time is up for speculation. It could be Bend, it could be many other studios that get involved at this point. We shall wait and see. So by and large this is a very tasty update from the original PS3 release, but it's not something that's going to blow you away. If you have already played and finished the PS3 version of this game, can I recommend this game to you to buy? It all depends on how interested you are on 60 FPS and a higher resolution screen rate. The lighting structure and changes are very minimal. Overall, I would say if you have not played the PS3, it's a no-brainer. As I've said in my previous video, buy this game. It deserves it, you deserve it, the PS4 deserves it, you have to play it. If you've played the PS3 version and you're not into multiplayer and you're not that bothered about the update on the visuals and the clarity, then probably I wouldn't rush into buying it. As I've already said, you're not playing a different game. It is exactly the same game, the masterpiece that it is, on the PS3, on the PS4. It looks a lot cleaner, it moves a lot smoother, it performs a lot better, but there is still little weird tricks in there. The AI is still the same, the physics are still the same, exactly all the things that will stay static do, even to the point where the immersion breaking AI still pops up in the game as you see in front of you. You're trying to hide away from a clicker, and Ellie run in front of you and destroy that immersion because they should have been seen there straight away. They're making far more noise than you are, but the clicker is completely oblivious to it, as are other enemies, and this is the same as on the PS3. One of the small minor touches that they've also made, which is a nice touch, is on the PS3, if anyone's ever played it, every time you played the game from your save, you had to do this massive unpacking session on the main menu. That's now gone. What the PS4 version does is it unpacks the game as soon as you first start it, and then it'll never ask you again. So it's unpacked that whole game onto the hard drive, and then when you play next time it loads instantly and gets you straight back into the game, which is a very good update and a nice touch that Naughty Dog have done. You've still got tiny weak textures here on the box and again here on the door, but they're all very minor, and it just shows that not everything could be touched up in the same places. Overall, this is a very solid amount of work from Naughty Dog and Sony, and it delivers exactly on what the expectations were. It is an updated, remastered version of a classic from only last year, and it predominantly is served up for people who haven't played the original PS3 version. If you fall in that category, then this game is for you. If, like me, you're into visuals and performance, then also this game is for you. Outside of that, I can't really recommend it. You can spend your money elsewhere on something else, but it's entirely up to you. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was interesting for you and informative. Please, if you enjoyed this or any of my other content, please subscribe and hit that button below. If you like it, give me a thumbs. If you don't, or you do, give me your feedback and thoughts below. And as always, guys and girls, I'll see you soon on the next one.
I'm fine. Guys, get in here! The girl! Get off me!
Get off!
How's it gone?